Okay, is the speaker?
Yeah. Heather and John are on Zoom. Okay. Okay, so them too. Can I call to order? You guys all right? Yeah, all right. Okay, so the Kona Action Committee will now come to order. It's Tuesday, July 23rd, 2004, and the time is now 2:47. This meeting will be held in person and by interactive conference technology. The meeting will also be recorded on Zoom. As a reminder, per Sunshine Law, AC members appearing remotely must keep their cameras on and announce anyone who is with them, except for minors in their locations. So I'll ask both Heather, if there's anyone in the room with you or that you
No.
need. John? Thank you.
Nope.
Okay, great. So I'll do the roll call first. I'm the chair, Charles Young, and we have a quorum to hold this meeting. So I would like each of the present committee members to introduce themselves. We'll go with the persons in live first and then those on Zoom.
Nancy Psicchio, I'm vice chair and I live in Tahoe.
David Huerta, I'm a member.
Okay, Heather?
Heather Karate, I live in Captain Cook.
I'm John Pelletier. I live in Oma.
Okay, great. So absent are Gary and Roslyn. I'd like staff maybe to introduce themselves as well, and I'll go first with the people who are present in the room.
Long Range Planning Department. Jessica Leggett, Long Range Planning Department.
Okay, and I see Jean on.
Good afternoon, Deputy Corporation Counsel Jean Campbell.
And April. You there, April? Doesn't seem like she's on. Yeah, maybe she stepped out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just proceed. So, so housekeeping, cell phones turned off or on silent mode, please. If there's anyone who would like to testify, please fill out a sign-up form if you're present, or give it to staff, or Zoom testifiers, send a message in the chat to the Zoom host indicating which item they wish to testify on. We ask everyone to please state your name before speaking. To all of you who are attending here in person, please remember to speak toward the owl camera microphone so everyone on Zoom can hear. Okay, so before I get into the approval of minutes, I'd just like to do my Olelo No'eau to remind me of who I am. And today is Aohe Pau Ka'ike I Kahalau Ho'okahi. And translated, that means all knowledge is not taught in the same school, which was a lesson to us that one can learn from many sources. So I think the first item is to approve the minutes, and I think we have two months worth. The first, the May 21st, and the second, the June 25th. So I will need a motion and a second, and we'll have to hand these, I believe, separately. So we'll have a motion on the May 21st meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes from May, what date was that?
21st.
21st.
I second.
Okay, so Nancy moved and David seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Edits, amendments? Go. So hearing none, all in favor of approval of the May 21st minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, any nays? So hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. The next minutes are those from the June 25th, 2024 meeting.
This is Nancy, motion to approve the minutes for June 25th, 2024.
I second it.
Okay, so it's moved by Nancy and seconded by David. Any discussion on the June 25th meeting minutes? So hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, hearing none, then the motion is carried unanimously. Well, and the minutes for the June 25th meeting are approved. Okay, so we're gonna get into the public testimony piece on the agenda items. I just wanna read this first, and then we'll get onto the business. So the public may provide verbal testimony at the meeting by joining the Zoom meeting or attending in person. Please register to testify by contacting the website. Comments may be made either during the public comment portion of the agenda or just prior to the relevant business. With discretion of the chair, the CDP Action Committee comments may be limited to 3 minutes in length per agenda item. Written testimony may be submitted via email or in person at the Hilo Kona Planning Department up to 2 business days prior to this meeting. See the notice below. So I'm gonna use my discretionary powers, at least on one of the agenda items. And that's the first business item that we have on, which is the letter that we submitted to the county council. And basically, the agenda, as it's agendized, it says discussion of submitted letter regarding the Kona 3 LLC rezone application, PLRES 2022-000033. And I would like to first, before I take the testimony, but while we're conducting the business item, is to discuss with the committee the results, I think, of my attending and submitting the letter and reading it into the record in person, because I think it's important that the committee, get a sort of a full-throated understanding of how this what occurred. I don't believe the full committee had a copy of the letter before it's submitted, so I wanted to assure that everybody has a copy now and has read it.
It should be in the
It
package.
should be in the packet. Okay, so as you see the minutes, the letter alluded to the CRC, which is the Committee on Cultural Resources, and also 2 issues on flooding and on concurrency. And this is what the committee brought up as being the main items, and we are being careful to tie that to the CDP. What I had to report back was just very briefly, and we don't even need to get into the discussion of it, but the 3 highlights I think I wanted to report were: 1, the first was that the deputy planning director on record said that the county has already accepted the conditions that the developer has put forward with regards to making a decision on moving forward. So that has already happened. The second is that the developers made a statement for which I am not clear, but I think that the committee should understand that the CDP doesn't cover their proposal because it's not in a TOD, and I will need clarification from that. And so, but I think it's something the committee should understand, because that's the first I've heard of it. And the third was really on the leeward planning negative the submittal on the item, because the negative is really because they didn't take a vote, not because they voted against it. So I think that's something the committee should understand too. Because they ran out of time, they have to submit it as a negative. So those are pretty much the 3 items. And I really want to first open it up for discussion to any of the committee members with regards to what's on the letter.
This is Nancy. First I want to thank, staff for their assistance in getting the letter drafted because, at our last meeting, as we know, we voted that we wanted to submit the testimony at the council meeting regarding this issue. And Charlie and I worked on the draft and submitted it to staff, and we learned, Charlie and I think learned a lot in terms of what CDP Action Committee's ability is legally. We're not legally structured under Chapter 16 to make recommendations to the county council. And I wasn't clear on that before. And we can express our opinion regarding whether we feel that the application is consistent or inconsistent with the Kona CDP policies, but we can't advise the council of what to do. I mean, like, for example, the Leeward Planning Commission has that ability to make a recommendation like that, but action committees don't. So that was sort of a technical thing that I learned through this process of working with Charlie and staff on getting our testimony drafted. But besides that, I was really happy with the testimony that was a product of collaboration, and I thought Charlie did a really good job presenting the testimony as written to the county council and to the public. And I wanted to thank Charlie for driving over to Gila to do that. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Nancy. Dave, you had any comments on the letter itself?
I didn't see the letter in my packet just because of access to my
Okay,
emails. I haven't been able to read it.
I can give you my copy if you like for now, but. John or Heather, any comments on the letter?
Yeah, I wanted to echo Nancy's thanks, Charlie, for going over there and representing us and being able to answer follow-up questions that were asked of you. I had I guess it's not specific to the letter, but the developers also mentioned that they kind of responded to our question about concurrency and said that they weren't in a TOD and they also were in a concurrency zone. So this issue that we're bringing up, concurrency, isn't an issue. They didn't really elaborate on that, but I was curious about, if that is the case, or were they really understanding what we were trying to say when we were arguing about, not meeting concurrency requirements? That was a question I had that came up.
Yeah. I can't answer that question, obviously, but I think that did open up, I think in my mind that we should be more in tune, I think, of what the CDP we're there to do, and what I think we need more guidance, perhaps, maybe from staff. But we're gonna try and talk about that and schedule that for a later date, because it was a learning experience for myself too. And I just want to make sure that we stay within our guidelines. So it's a good point. And those are some of the questions that I was asking myself too when I was sitting there. So thanks for bringing that up. I don't know, Heather, any comments? Oh, you're on mute? Are you on mute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you again for representing us. I think when I read the email, I don't really see it as a recommendation. Like you weren't. So I'm going to reread it, but I was wondering, do we have, to me, it seemed like we were stating an opinion, our opinion. And this seems like a good example that will help us iron out our involvement in the future, but I think I have more questions now. Like we can collectively have a stance or and take and have an active opinion, or do we just point out issues within that something might have with respect to the CDP and we don't take a perspective?
I wanted to make one response to you, Heather. Our original draft did make a recommendation and we were told we couldn't. So that struck sentence was removed. That's why it doesn't look like we're making a recommendation, because we're told that we don't have the legal kuleana to do that.
Yeah, got it. Okay. So it wasn't that there was an issue with the letter as it was written, it was the draft that you learned this in the draft process. Okay. I got it.
Several days of drafts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. That's.
But
um,
I think we're all on course to, and maybe in agreement that we need to work on ourselves first. And so I've had that discussion with April and with Jean, maybe, you know, we need to be try and access a little bit more coaching. We'll have to decide on that later, though. That's not really the subject of the letter now. So I wanted to make sure that we fully understood what happened at the meeting as well. So if the committee doesn't have any other discussion on the letter itself, I'm gonna open it up to public comment. But I did wanna request that the public just keep it as brief as possible, 1 to 3 minutes. Because we are not taking any action or further action at this point on the development. And the way we've been, what we really wanna hear, I think, is, or here to discuss is really the contents of the letter. So if there are more people from the public who wanna provide additional testimony, I'll open it now. Diane, I have one here from Nada. Is she left out, did she, or? No?
I think she did be. Yeah.
Huh?
She went downstairs.
Okay, so, yeah, okay, anyone online, and again, please, keep it as brief as possible. Appreciate it. Is that Harry?
Yeah, Cheryl?
Harry's raising his hand, is that?
This is Darren. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's a Harry Cho underneath your name. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Go ahead, Darren.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I just wanted to make a brief statement. I know there was certain references regarding representations regarding consistency with the Kona CDP and as it pertains to like concurrency. And I would encourage you to either watch the PowerPoint presentation that we presented at the council and where I kind of go point by point during that discussion, but I wanted to make myself available as well in case there are any specific questions regarding some of the concerns that were raised at this afternoon's meeting.
Yeah, and you represent the developer.
Oh, I'm
Did I-
sorry. Yes, Darren Arai, assisting Kona Tree LLC. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much for that offer. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Is there other?
Cheryl, did you want to testify?
Hi, Cheryl, you can go ahead and unmute.
I'm not sure who you're talking to.
You can, yeah. Did you want to testify, Cheryl?
Yes, I do. I have submitted written testimony to you as well, so I'm just going to briefly go over part of it, that part of what I've submitted previously that is not in my submission of last night. When Kona 3 LLC applied for final approval on an extension of the development in 2019, Harry Kim warned that the KDCP revision might make any extension moot. Kona 3 LLC is not likely to be the actual builder, but instead gathering all the permits they can in order to garner a higher market price. 2 requests were made of the developer by the Leeward LUC in December of 2022 before they voted to submit the development to the Cultural Resources Commission for input. Redraw the plat, replacing all the, respecting all the trails and artifacts, as well as performing the study to determine at what price is market value housing. To my knowledge, the developer has done neither. Then the Cultural Resources Commission returned the opinion that the site should remain undeveloped in perpetuity. While in his May 8th, 2024 letter, the developer has attempted to dismiss and deride all previous opposition, the fact remains, once developed, the destruction of the site's history and present-day wildlife will be irretrievable. Has the developer even yet submitted the requested overlay respecting the artifacts? Indeed, the May 8th letter is worded to minimize any significance that this site, which is in renaming the project Royal Vistas, the developer has already subtly conceded its pedigree. A lee trod here. This of all sites bears such provenance as to forever cloud any permission to develop it. What does the revised plan mean for such an obvious case of wrong place ever? Excuse me. Purchase of the 2-parcel site by Ponk was put forth today. Excuse me. As a resolution 561-24 by the county council by councilperson Villegas. And I believe that is going forward. It has received a vote to be considered. Anyway, let's go with that. I was not at the meeting. I received some brief notes.
Can you summarize, please?
Sure. Purchase of the 2-parcel site by Ponk is the perfect solution and will free up the developer to move on to a more amenable location for this project. I thank you.
Thank you. Oh, any questions for our testifiers? John, Heather? Dave? That's you. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Are there anyone else who wants to provide comment on business item number 1? If not, then I'm going to close it and we'll go on to the next business item. So the next item is inquiries to the Department of Parks and Recreation, discussion and potential decision making regarding Old Airport District Park, Kealakekee Regional Park, and Ho'opo'o Park. Think we have some letters in here from our folks. What discussion did? Go ahead, Heather.
Well, for the old airport and the Ho'opo'o Park, I haven't received any correspondence back. So I was gonna sync up with Miriam when she comes back about following up and protocols. So there's really nothing to discuss for that one. Since we haven't gotten a response back.
John, did you get any updates for Kealakekee Regional Park?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't receive any response back from these letters. I will say the one person who's really consistently been in great contact with me has been Boka Hui, who's part of YPAC advocating for Kealakekee Regional Park. The last I heard from him was there was this, and I've talked about it at a few meetings. There was supposed to be this meeting with YPAC and the county, and then I was going to join myself. Bo said the last he heard was that they're putting it on hold. And I think that's related to the lawsuit with the wastewater treatment plant. It's kind of nebulous how that relates with the regional park, but I guess things are just being put on hold now. And so that's the last I've heard about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Is there any discussion from any other committee members on these 3 letters and the 3 issues, the 3 parks?
It'd be nice to get a response back from Parks and Rec when we ask them for giving us updates.
I'm gonna follow up on that. That seems reasonable.
Yeah. Is our objective to get a response from them, or also maybe to hear from them in person? I mean, what are our expectations?
Yeah, the request for the Ho'opo'o Park was it was a request to the community wants irrigation. So just a request to see if they would respond to that community need. And then the other for Old Airport was a request for them to come to our meeting and give us an update. In person, have a conversation, give us an update.
I think, this is Nancy, 2 meetings ago, we voted for a letter to be written regarding Talakahee Regional Park and the Old Airport Park, and have Charlie sign it to have them to come to our meeting and give us an update. And I don't know whether even that letter ever went. Did you ever sign a letter? So
No, I think we authorized Heather to send it. I think that was the motion
oh,
we made,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I did,
so
I did send that.
they
Yeah.
were supposed to actually, they're supposed to respond that they're gonna come and give us an update. That was the request.
Yeah.
So, is our resolve then to continue to invite and write letters or make the overtures to the park? Because I think we wanna have thinking forward, how we wanna handle this.
Yeah, let me update you guys next meeting. I want to talk to Miriam about it because we were having a different conversation and she was going on vacation and I want to
Okay.
make sure, that I'm not overstepping any protocols for it.
Okay, so from an agenda standpoint, we'll just put it on next agenda or,
That sounds great.
okay. Okay, any other discussion? Committee members? No one signed up. No one else signed up for this, okay? Okay. If there's no other discussions, then I'm gonna close this item as well. Move on to the next. So this is item number 3. The business vote for a permitted interaction group. Discussion and decision making on whether to form a permitted interaction group regarding a county council election candidate forum. Nancy, you wanna take the lead on that?
I'll discuss the background to this. I think that Charlie and I talked about it, and we also talked with staff and Miriam about it, that it might be a good thing to explore. And that since we put it on the agenda to initiate a permitted interaction group to explore the possibility, then we had a Zoom meeting with Corp Council with Jean and planning, and they brought up the possibility that maybe we don't have the legally authority to host a candidate forum. So I'd like maybe Jean, you could explain further how you define the law in that regard that would prevent us from doing this.
Hi, so again, Deputy Corporation Counsel Jean Campbell. Yeah, at the county, we have to be extremely careful to avoid campaigning by anybody who's running for office. And our initial concern, and we haven't, neither the planning staff nor I have had a chance to look into the question about whether or not holding a forum would effectively be providing an opportunity for campaigning by candidates. So I don't have a legal opinion on that today, but I think that is our big concern is that the AC holding a forum for candidates to come in and provide their positions on things could very well be interpreted as campaign, allowing an opportunity for campaigning by candidates. And I at a glance, our concern is that that's not a permissible activity that we can allow for. So I think what we were contemplating was if you wanted to form a permitted interaction group to look into whether or not this was something that would be possible. That's certainly something that the permitted interaction group can do. And it may very well be that the answer comes back once we're able to take a look at it and say, that's not something that the AC is allowed to do.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, well, the idea was that there would be very specific questions regarding CDP policy. It wouldn't be political in the sense of just anything anybody wanted to ask. It would be, we would cite specific policies in this document to get an update on, what they feel about, the policy, whether they know about it or whether they think it's a priority or not. And so it'd be very tied specifically with this ordinance. So I don't know if that would help. Maybe it wouldn't help, because then you could still say that they're campaigning and any answer they give. So, but if based on your comments today, and I'd like to work with you and anybody else that wants to join the PIG in exploring this further. So I would like to make a motion to form a PIG to further explore the possibility of the Kona Community Development Plan Action Committee hosting a future. It would be after the primary for the general election of a candidate forum. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so there's a motion by Nancy to form a PIG. I'm glad you're writing it out now as permitted interaction group. I just want to comment that pigs was not something I was really happy with, but anyway, that's just my personal thing.
Call it cool.
Something you eat. Yeah, so Nancy's made a motion and John, you have seconded. Now, so discussion, and I kind of wanted to maybe have a just Corp Counsel help us understand what the timeline is for forming a PIG.
So the procedure for forming a permitted interaction group, and just as an offer, one of the other commissions I work with refers to them as ping. They've included an N in there because they also didn't like the reference of calling them pigs.
Oh, I feel better now.
Ping, anyway, so up to you. So the way that the law requires that the use of a permitted interaction group goes is at this meeting, you will articulate the task as specifically as you can that your group is going to go off and do. So you give them a specific assignment and you assign your members, your committee members who are going to be part of the ping, and it can be up to one less than your quorum. It can be two people if you want as few as two, but it can be up to as many as one less than your quorum. And then the group will go off and do your work. Whenever they are ready to have a report, which doesn't need to be the next meeting that you hold, but given the time sensitivity of this one, it probably would want to be the next meeting that you hold. The permitted interaction group will come back and provide a report. And there's no discussion amongst the full committee members at that meeting, but the permitted interaction group just comes back and says, here's our report, here's what we found. And then at the third meeting, the full action committee can discuss the report that was provided by the permitted interaction group at the previous meeting. So the entire process requires 3 meetings to be completed.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, it's a discussion.
Thank you for that. How could we word this so it's as inclusive as possible? Like, let's say a couple of us get together with you and we find a way to do this. I don't want to limit the motion right now so that we actually have to do a new thing to actually organize a forum. Let's say it's possible. I don't want to have to make that a separate 3-vote process. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So could So we're going to work with Corp Counsel to see if it's possible, and then we'll move forward if it is.
Yeah, I suspect that if you determine that it is possible, again, because of the difficulty of the legal requirements for a ping, is you probably would want to have only 1 or maybe 2 people actually go out and interact with your potential candidates to organize and hold your forum. So it's not done through the ping process. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's a wonderful suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, that means we can, if we decide through the ping that we can do it, then we can proceed with 2 members and organize it.
And your members can be out there discussing with non-committee members other stuff, right? You're allowed to talk about, each of you is allowed to go out and talk about board business to non-committee members. That's not what's regulated by the restrictions that we're trying to work through.
Right, okay. No, that sounds good. That sounds feasible within the constraints of the timeline here. And Okay, and I'll be in touch with you, shortly over this.
So does our motion still carry then? Leave it as is,
Yeah, because
no
we can,
amendment?
well, if we find out we're allowed to do it, then we don't need a
Right.
ping to proceed.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and we've had discussion. Is there any more discussion, committee members?
Before you vote on something, you need to select your committee, your ping members and articulate what their job is in order to launch them out into the world and let them work.
So anybody besides myself that has a particular interest in this subject should speak up soon.
Yes, and if it's only you, then you alone are not a ping, and you can just work directly with me and the staff, and you don't need a ping for that. Because you're just by yourself.
So it doesn't sound like anybody else is speaking up.
No, I'd like to join in just because it interests me.
Yeah, it interests me too. And I'm very for this if we can get it going. I think it's a really great idea. I guess it's a question of I guess at this point, do we need the ping? I mean, is it just people talking with you know, staff? I have, ideas for places we could host it and people we could reach out to host it, but I don't know if that's covered within this ping that we've motioned. I think that's just my question.
Well, if we want to withdraw the motion, I just don't want to run out of time.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
But I don't mind being the one at this, like, we could defer the motion and I could work with Corp Counsel between now and our next meeting to find out whether we could do it. But is that a good idea? Anybody have an opinion on that? Do it that way instead of forming the ping at this point?
Seems like it would be more efficient. Like that's something you could just do easily on your own. It might take more work to work with a few people just to find out from Corp Counsel.
Yeah,
if
to
it's
find
doable.
this particular answer, we might be able to resolve it quite quickly. The Corp Counsel, do you have any idea of whether there's any reason to put the ping in place at this point?
That's really up to you guys, how you want to work it out.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we would do within the ping structure. I guess the main question is to find out whether we can do it or not.
Yeah, because once we figure out we can do it, or if we can do it, I feel like forming a ping would be a really good idea because then there's a lot of things that have to happen, right? But yeah, for now, I guess what else needs to be done is the question. Yeah, what would define our roles in this case?
Maybe I'll withdraw the motion to form the ping and I'll volunteer to work with Corp Counsel to find out whether it's possible to, for the AC to, host a candidate forum before the general election.
And if we proceed along that line, then two people can meet with Corp Counsel. Two of the committee members can meet with one. Are you interested in that, John? As well?
You mean meeting with, helping Nancy out with interacting with staff?
Yes.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
so, we don't need to make a motion on that, do we?
You can, Nancy could simply withdraw the motion that she's made.
Okay.
And then your second can agree, and then you could just move ahead.
okay, yeah, I withdrew the motion. We hadn't voted on it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I seconded it, so I agree with withdrawing.
Okay. Do we need a motion for the two people to assign them to that task, or can we just do it on their own?
No, you can.
Motion.
go ahead and do that. Yeah, you don't need a motion for that.
Okay, so John and I will be in contact with Eugene to see if there's a way to angle here to get this done. I think just to speak to it a little bit more, I think, for the CDP, I think it's a good way to get the CDP and the policies out into the public, more visibility, which is of course what I'm always talking about, but also if we're going to be electing people, there needs to be some accountability of whether people running for office in District 7 and 8 have a commitment, or in 6 for that matter, have a commitment to this ordinance. And, you know, if it's clear they don't know anything about it or care anything about it, that's a pretty good indication. So I think it's important, it's in the public interest to know what these people think about policy and the Kona Community Development Plan. That's all I have to say, Chairman.
Okay. Any other comments on this agenda item from committee members? I don't believe we have anyone from the public who wanted to, okay. So if I can close this, and we'll close item number 3. Okay, and the 4th business item is Tree City USA, discussion and decision making if the committee is interested in researching how the county of Hawaii could attain the Tree City USA designation from the Arbor Day Foundation.
This probably seems like left field, like it came from left field. This is something Miriam had brought up to us as just an example project, and I told her that I would look into it, and right now I'm just doing that as a community member. So if the Kona CDP, if all of us would like me to investigate basically the history of why we lost it, and there's 4 criteria or standards that we need to meet, like where did we fall short before, and just not committing to the project at all at this point, but just looking at why did we lose it and what would it take for us to get this again. So I'm doing that right now as a community member, but if the Kona CDPAC would like me to investigate that. And this might even be a better question for Corp Council. Is this something that is even in our scope of appropriate things to investigate?
Not having looked into it previously, I don't know that I know the answer offhand. You know, the action committee is, you would have to find a connection, I believe, to the CDP. You know, the action committees aren't just about going out and doing all the things.
Yeah,
So I
there's
think
definitely,
you would
yeah,
need to
it's
find that tie.
there's definitely the tie. That's not the issue.
I looked into it a little bit. There's nothing specifically about this program in the Kona CDP, but there are related goals that would benefit from a program like this. So it's not a direct policy lifting it off the page and saying we're going to implement this, but there are a lot of things the CDP is aspiring to that this tree program would help. And also Miriam's idea wasn't, this wouldn't be CDP specific, it's a countywide initiative that she was interested in looking into.
So I'm wondering, whether we should re-agendize this and make a decision based on some of the language in the CDP so that the committee can take a vote on it, if we so choose to have Heather do it on behalf of the committee. Corp Council, does that sound all right? Yeah, if we can find. So yeah, so Heather, can you work on, you said there's a connection, and so obviously you know which areas in the CDP, and then we can maybe put that up for
Sure.
discussion and decision making, relative to the specific areas in the CDP.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I'll do that for the next meeting.
yeah, okay. All right. Any other discussion on this agenda item? You know, if I close it, it's gonna be a record time. I wanna close it. All right.
Hear anybody complain?
No. Should do this every day, late, yeah, all the time. Okay, so agenda items for next meeting. Heather, we just talked about the Tree City thing, so you want that on the agenda next time as well, so that
Yeah,
we can
that
have.
sounds- That sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay, for discussion. There's no old business now that we need to follow up on. I had in our discussions, and I'm not sure this is for, for a meeting, but the concern, in my experience, I guess I should say, is, before going through the county council, a couple of weeks ago, and then learning how the agencies are, the inner agents or the agencies are supposed to, or can, or maybe don't interact. Is there some maybe tutorial that we can follow in terms of, or some guidance maybe you can help us with, Gene, for instance, and I'll bring it up, like the CRC providing its opinion, and we are not aware of it. And the planning commission, providing its sort of negative media and stuff, and we're not aware of it. How can we, work more closely?
Get in the loop.
Yeah, that's a good word, loop. But, and I would, I want to kind of like challenge our committee members to understand that too, so we know what we can be doing maybe to exercise some of that interest outside of the meetings. Is there something that's there, or is it something maybe a blueprint we can create for ourselves?
So I think Miriam has prepared something that I don't know who all it was shared with, that looked into, because I think a very similar question came up at Hamakua. And I believe that we did put together a list of resources of places that Action Committee members can look for information about what's happening around the county and at the planning department in particular. There are lots of resources, and I'm sure we can look around and refine that list and share it with you guys if it wasn't shared across all the ACs. And I think you're right, Chair, that really it is a challenge to the AC members to go out and look for that information. I don't believe that the planning department either has the ability or, really can package everything and provide the ACs with a running, a running score about everything that's happening around the county. That's just far too big of a lift. But we can certainly provide you with a list of resources. An awful lot of it is links that are found right there on the planning department's website. The planning department's website has just a tremendous amount of resources for what's going on. The county calendar is also a really great place. That's actually where I personally go to find an awful lot about what's going on. Each, like your meetings are linked on there. The council meetings are linked on there. CRC is on, basically everything that happens at the county is there. And you can click on the link, find the agendas, look ahead to see what's happening that you might be interested in, look backwards to see, what's happened and whatnot. So we can certainly provide you with, a sort of a list of resources. And if you want something a little bit more particular about procedurally, how do various processes work, we can certainly sit down, either me or the planning department staff, and give you, either find some existing training or develop some training, training materials for you that will give you a little bit more background in how the planning process works. So if I am coming in, as a landowner coming into the county and I want to rezone property, what are the steps that I take and how does that work? So we can certainly give you at least some basic nuts and bolts about the various planning processes, if that would be something that you're helpful. We can, I probably won't promise it at the next meeting, but we can work on putting something like that together for you, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, so I'd like to continue this discussion maybe at the next meeting, but not just so that we keep it live. I think it would benefit certainly myself, and I think committee members as well. I don't recall seeing something that Miriam put together. I don't know if other committee members have. And maybe that's the place to start. We can, have her, when on the next agenda, maybe have her sort of go through what she's already sort of compiled. And then we'll see where we go from there.
I think that would be a good next agenda item is, what sort of information are you looking for? And is there any particular training that you'd like us to provide for you? That would be a good next agenda item.
Okay. Nancy?
This is Nancy. I was looking more at CDP policy, but action committee policy, and there's one thing in chapter 16, it says that we can request presentations by the planning department on pending our current applications. But if we don't know what's going on far enough in advance, that's not very feasible. But that is in chapter 16 under the AC responsibilities in scope, that we can request these presentations. Like, for example, this Kona 3 LLC thing, we did have it within our Kuleana under chapter 16 to have them come and talk to us specifically about this in advance. So I think that's kind of the piece we're kind of grappling with, trying to figure out how to insert ourselves more currently into the process.
Right.
And again, there are tons and tons of resources on the county website, especially the planning department's website, that will let you look into what's happening around the county. And so we can look into that for what those resources are for a new agenda item for the next meeting to help you understand what's out there so that you guys can do that homework on your own.
Right. Right. And maybe like how the processes work, where they go first and how it's processed through, so that we can understand where the key decisions are being made. Okay, so we can continue this in a general discussion, just put it on the agenda next time. Because I'll certainly have more questions specific.
I have something to add in.
Sure.
I have a personal relationship with the chairman of the Cultural Resources Commission, and I'm not sure if you'd be interested in having him attend one of our meetings to discuss how the Cultural Resources Commission works and all that.
That'd be good if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I think it would be great, particularly if we can tie it up with some of the goals in the
Right,
CDP.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's where
yeah, absolutely, because,
Okay. I'll reach out to him tonight.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's tentative, but, and you'll confirm that, Dave, with
Yes.
staff? Okay, great. That's OCCL? Or is that the county, is the state or the?
No,
county?
it's a
County.
separate, I think it's a separate commission, but I'm not sure. If it's
Okay.
County related.
The Cultural Resources Commission, is that what you're speaking about?
I believe it's part of the county, but I haven't talked to this personal friend for quite a while. So
Fine.
I have to look at that.
Committee members, any other hot topics right now?
I mean, you wrote this down earlier, but I think we're going to follow up about the parks, the letters to the parks, next meeting. That's the only other thing I had.
Okay. Okay, any other suggestions at this point? So committee members, if you have something comes up, let staff know. And, when we set the agenda, we'll be, comprised up to date on if you have any issues.
And there'll probably be a general plan unveiling before we meet again.
Most likely.
Yeah,
We're holding our breath for that.
so staff, when's our next meeting gonna be? Do we know? August?
Not August.
It's gonna be September.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not August 8th?
No, we're not gonna have an August meeting.
Yeah.
Because of the general plan.
general plan. We did set the date, though, did we? I thought we had informed.
September 17th.
Okay. September 17th.
Same time, same room?
Earlier, I think. We usually go off at
12,
12.
let's see.
Yeah. So we're gonna try for 12 again, huh?
Yeah, we have the room reserved for 12.
Yeah. Unless Charlie goes traveling. Okay, any other discussions? Oh, that's it there, okay. Okay, someone move to close.
I move to close the meeting or adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it. This is Nancy.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning, please indicate by saying aye.
I.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none. Have a nice afternoon, folks. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
staff.
everybody.
I
Really helpful.
apologize for.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Gene. See ya.